What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the channel. So today we're going to be going over the 5 top stock plugins in Ableton. So let's get right into this. Quick disclaimer, we're going to be going over all of the audio effects that Ableton has to offer. So we're going to be going through the 5 of all of them that are the best. So if you have the free version of Ableton or the smaller version, then you might not have some of the plugins that we're going over. Also, for everybody asking about the intro song, I have a full series where I go over how I made that from scratch. So you can actually check that out. I'll leave a link to it right here, so go check that out if you're interested. Without any further ado, let's get right into this. So by far the best plugin in Ableton, and probably not the one you're thinking of because it's slept on incredibly, is the utility. Yeah, so utility is definitely the audio effect that I use the most in Ableton. And there's a couple things you can do with it. The first thing is you can use this as a mono input. So let's say you wanted to mix your beat in mono, which is a really good method, especially if you're learning to mix. What you can do is you can slap a utility on your master or your pre-master and turn this mono right here, and it's going to put everything in mono for you right away. You also have a width knob right here, so you can actually use this to widen out like some of your instruments. You could use it on even your drums, your 808, different things like that, so you can use that feature as well. Obviously you have the gain input, which is the main factor of this whole thing. So what's nice about this gain input is, let's say that you need to modulate an instrument. Let's say it's too loud in the intro, or you want the intro to be quieter. You can modulate it on the gain here. So you can modulate this, and then if you need to turn the whole channel up or down, you can still use this right here without messing everything up. You also have a balance knob here, so if you want to move your instrument to the left or the right, you can use it to do that as well. And there's obviously a couple things you can do with it, but those are the main things that I use it for and that make it the best plugin. Alright, so in second place is Ableton's Saturator. I love Ableton's Saturator for a number of reasons. Ableton Saturator is my go-to if I need to use an Ableton's soft clip option. I will use the saturator over the glue compressor to do that. You have different kinds of saturation that you can apply. So what the saturation is going to do is it's going to take the signal and just like boost the harmonics in it. It's also going to even them out a little bit as well. So you'll notice if you have instruments that tend to peak at certain points, the saturator will help even that out a little bit as well. And that's regardless if you have the soft clip on or off. And the saturator is also really good for pumping up the volume on a sound and making it sound thicker and louder without actually adding any volume. So if you throw the saturator on there and get it right, and then you go ahead and turn down the output to match the signal coming in, and you A/B it on and off, you'll definitely notice there's a louder signal from the saturator. So you got your drive knob here. You have your different waveforms that you can use. I tend to go for more of the soft ones, like the soft sine, maybe the sine fold from time to time, or the analog clip. You can mess with the different transient in the bass, though I do not tend to use this much at all. I really don't touch anything in this column, but you can mess with the width of the signal here, sort of similar to the utility. You can target a certain frequency that you want to saturate. You have your dry or wet knob, though I usually keep this up all the way, and you have your output so you can gain stage it. And that's pretty much all you need to know about saturator. Other things to note are if you didn't know this already, there's actually preset options in here that Ableton came up with, and Ableton actually has some really good presets for certain plugins. So these are really good here, and it tells you what you get. Like if you want to warm up the lows or the highs, hot tubes, so you can get kind of different effects. This one might almost be more of like a distorted kind of saturation or something like that, more of a 2B feel. Okay, so in third place is Ableton's chorus effect here. What chorus does is it adds multiple of the signal. So there's one signal coming in, it's going to add multiples of them, and then you can transform how those react to each other as they're mixed together. So you can change the polarity, you can put some effects on it, some wobbles and different delays and things like that. Now I don't really get into presetting these myself. I go with the presets that Ableton has because there's actually some really good ones, and as you can see there's quite a few to choose from. So I'll go through these different presets. And what you can do with these presets to make it really nice, if you don't know, is when you press this button right here, you can actually just double click on it and it'll change it out instead of adding it on and on and on. So this will make it really quick if you want to try out the different presets on whatever you're doing. So the only thing that I would really use this for is maybe turning the dry wet up or down. If it's too much of an effect and you need to turn it down a little bit, you could use that. Otherwise, the only other thing that I would really change is the amount here. Okay, so in 4th place is Ableton's vocoder. Vocoder is a cool little effect that you can get some like cool vocal effects from. You could try this on melodies, and I even use it on some drums, and you may have seen me use it in the past. You have these different options of signals that you're mixing your signal with. So you can mix it with noise, you can do some modular, or you can do some pitch tracking. You'll have to play with these different ones to try them all out because they all do a little bit different. And I would always recommend using this enhance option. And so you can play with the release of the sample. You can play with the different formats that it's in and shape kind of the transients and how it sounds. You can add more depth to it. So if you want to bring it higher or lower in the sound field. You can also add attack to it if you wanted to do that as well. And you can also play with the bands, and what that's going to do is it's going to split it up into different voices and subtract them. So if you have an instrument that has a lot going on and you turn on the 4 voices, it's going to downgrade the sound quite a bit. But for drum samples and things like that, it can make it actually smack and sound really good. All right, the 5th and last plugin that we're talking about today is Ableton's Drum Bus. I like to use Drum Bus on my different drum samples, percussion, different things like that to add some like little distortion or to boost a little bit of the lows or transients that are in it. So your dampening rate here is the control. It's like how much of the signal are you allowing through. So if you want to allow everything to go through, you can crank this up all the way and it's going to affect all the transients up to that amount of the kilohertz zone. Your drive is just like anything else. It's how much you're going to push into the effects. So how much of the effects do you want to bring on? So 20 is usually a good place to leave it, and you can always boost it a little more if you need to. So you have a soft, medium, or hard kind of a curve that you're going to be putting on the transients. The hard can have some crazy effects, so I don't normally use it too often. I normally use the soft or medium. You can actually trim off part of the sample, so if you don't want it to play all the way through, you can actually trim it back a little bit. You can play with the different transients. One's going to make it sound a little bit higher in the frequencies, and one's going to bring it lower towards the different frequencies, but you have to play with that. And you can target which note right here that you're targeting the transients in, but it usually sounds good to leave it how it is. You can also mess with how much of a decay that's on the transients. So if you're adding all kinds of distortion and crunches and things like that, you can turn down the decay that's on those so that they're not as long of a tail. And then we have the crunch and boom, which are kind of different distortions that you're adding. They give a little bit of a different effect. This one's going to give you more highs and a crunchy sound, while this one's going to give you more lows and more of a boomy effect. And this is obviously the frequency that you can target that we were talking about down here. So this is where you can change it. All right, guys, so those are the top 5 stock plugins in Ableton. I hope you guys liked that one. Smash the like button if you did. And if you guys want to see me break down any of these plugins and show exactly how I use them in an actual beat, let me know and I can do a full breakdown on any of these. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button because we're uploading daily tutorials that you're not going to want to miss out on. But besides that, I'll be catching you guys again in the next one. Peace out.